Hey everybody, we're not really in the closet.
For once, this is the first time we've been out of our closet doing a podcast because we have a live guest, and we didn't really feel like, well, I don't even think he'd fit in our closet, actually. He's a pretty big guy.
Yeah, he is a big guy. Not fat. He's not a fat guy. Very lean.
Didn't mean, I meant tall. He's tall.
Tonight is the one and only Butch Hiles.
Sweet.
From Butch Hiles, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA gym, his very own.
He's more than just an MMA guy.
I said Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay.
I can't say that very fast. Hold on, what it'll come out.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Are you from Cleveland?
I am, yeah.
I thought so.
I knew he wasn't from here.
So yeah, I moved here. Well, I mean, it depends how you look at it. I moved here when I was 19 or 20, so.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So it's like half and half now. Actually, more here than there. Right?
Did you move here or did your parents move here? How'd that work?
So my parents kind of tricked me. They said that we've got this great house with several acres of land. You're going to love it. And then I showed up and it was like a little bit better than a trailer, no acres of land. And so I was like, well, this sucks. So I was like, I'm leaving. And then my dad was like, you know what? If you leave, I'm going to report the car stolen because it is my car. So I ended up staying here, yeah.
So you stayed for the car.
So it ended up working out, yeah. So it worked out.
Are your parents still here?
They are still here. Well, my dad's still here. My mom died last year or this year or something like that. So yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that.
So you've been here ever since. You didn't go back to...
No, yeah. I went to Glenville State, then UC. So it really came from college, more or less.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
All right. So you went to UC, you said?
Yeah. So Glenville State first because I didn't know what I was going to do. And my mom was actually going to Glenville State for a nursing degree. So I kind of thought it would be cool to go to school with her. It's kind of neat.
That is cool.
And then... no offense to Glenville State, but that's not really. I mean, they're more like teaching and nursing. I think forestry, criminology, or something. But nothing what I wanted to do. I wanted to do medical stuff. So kind of moved on to UC.
To UC and got a degree in
radiology, which is random. So
yeah.
I just thought, I thought, wonder what those people that shoot X-rays do. That was literally all I thought. And then somebody was like, "Well, this is how you have to do it." So I did that. Ended up doing MRI, and then from there now I'm in medical sales. So
okay,
so
it worked out.
Yeah.
You're around it.
Yeah.
You're still in the medical field.
Yeah.
Because some of us go and spend all this money on college, and then, like I did, and we graduate with a degree that, well, I mean, I'm not really using. I'm using it right now because I have a degree in broadcasting. However, nobody's paying me to do this. Are you paying me, Runyon, to do this? No. So therefore, I'm not. Yeah. I feel like I'm not using my degree.
After having Butch on, though, maybe we'll get there'll be ads.
Maybe.
People.
Maybe.
Doubtful. Okay. You never know.
Now So were you always into this martial arts world? Like since you were small, like I envision you as a little boy just in it.
Yeah. So yeah, not really, but kind of So I watched. So back then there was nothing, right?
Right.
So I just happened to be like in high school. Actually, is when the UFC came around. So that was 1993.
Okay.
So I remember watching that in high school. I don't remember what I was, like freshman, sophomore, whatever. But I just remember I thought, that stuff's crazy. I would never do that. Because at that time, it was discipline versus discipline, right? Like jiu-jitsu versus taekwondo versus boxing versus wrestling or whatever. There was no MMA, right? There was just a thing, yeah. So
like the famous fights, the battles with Gracie.
Which a lot of people forget because I still have these conversations to this day where people are like, I do taekwondo and like blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, they solved that back in 1993. So,
yeah, taekwondo is
like
you get kicked in the,
Yeah, it's no offense, but I'm like, yeah, they solved that back in 93. But anyway, back then but there was no jiu-jitsu school. So even when I watched that, there wasn't, it was just kind of out of mind. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm not going to do that. But I did box because that was the Mike Tyson era, So I'm like, I want to be like him. And he actually, Don King and all them were from Cleveland. So Mike Tyson had a house in Cleveland, and that's where I lived. So I boxed with a guy named Giacchetti, who was Mike Tyson's trainer. And I believe he was Mike Tyson's trainer during maybe the Buster Douglas fight. So I think maybe something like that.
Cool.
But
that's not the one you want to be a trainer for, though.
Exactly. But it stood out. So I did that for a long time, and that's when that was cool. And then I moved here, and then of all places, you wouldn't think you'd get into it in West Virginia, and
Right.
especially Glenville.
No.
But I did. It was random. I saw a newspaper article from a guy named Leon Ramsey was in the newspaper article in Glenville, but it said local fighter fights Gracie's. And I was like, how the heck did that happen, or how does this happen? So I read the article and I was like, it was really cool because it was like more or less like he did a jiu-jitsu tournament. It wasn't like he did a fight, but I read the article and I was like, that's kind of crazy that this guy's in this little tiny town. So I went to lift weights that night, and then lo and behold, there was Leon Ramsey.
Oh, really?
But there's only like 400 people in the whole city of Glenville.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really that random. It was just
Right.
like we happened to be there. And then, so are you the guy that fought the Gracies? He's like, yeah. And then, so I was like, well, that's awesome. I'd love to train with you. And then, so we started training, and then kind of the rest is history. Because at that time, it was really weird. Like, so there's a little tiny gym in Glenville, West Virginia, but he had fighters that fought in Pride, which is Japan,
Right.
Which is the rival for the UFC at the time. Some guys that fought very close to the UFC. But anyway, they had some guys that, I mean, back then, just to be honest, you didn't really have to be that good. You know what I'm saying? Because nobody was really cross-trained.
Because it wasn't as big as it is now, yeah.
So if you're a pretty good boxer, kickboxer, and knew a little bit of jiu-jitsu, a little bit of wrestling, you could be in a big stage.
So is he training you in everything, or was he training you in just boxing?
He was training in everything. So we're probably primarily boxing, kickboxing.
Yeah.
For example, everybody at our gym, there's only like 4 of us. Mike Shepard, which is pretty famous around here, George Randolph, myself, and a guy named Daryl DeCavich. But I mean, quite honestly, all those guys were just winning tough mans, which is kind of funny. And then, so my friend George Randolph, for example, won Clarksburg Tough Man.
Right.
He won it twice. Next thing I know, he's on Pride, which is, in front of 60 to 100,000 people in Japan, fighting a guy that had won 5 kickboxing world titles in Australia. It's like, and he barely lost.
Really?
Lost.
Wow.
Yeah, went to the decision. So we didn't suck, but we didn't really know what we were doing either. Because I remember actually, literally, me and George had rented a UFC, like UFC 1 and 2, watched Hoist Gracie, took it home, and that's how we learned jiu-jitsu. We were like, that guy choked the guy from behind, and we're like, this is what he did with his arm, so we would do that. And we had like no clue. And actually, my friend George had a couple of MMA fights at that time and actually won a world title in MMA. And literally, we didn't know anything. He won a rear naked choke, and I'm like, I didn't even know he knew that move. It's like after the fight was over, I was like, where'd you learn that move? And he's like, I was on like UFC 3. I was like, well, I didn't make it that far.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
I didn't see that one, or whatever, and like.
So you just kind of found it.
Yeah, so we kind of, they were a little bit ahead of me at that time, but I had won the Golden Gloves and a couple other things, and then my strength, other than them, they were probably better fighters than I were, quite honestly, but I was always good at coaching and instruction,
Yes.
So that was the thing, like I would learn, but then I would grab a bunch of people from Glenville State, and I would teach them how to do jiu-jitsu, and teach them how to box and how to kickbox, and that was kind of always my hobby, was teaching other people, I guess. Not really a hobby, but maybe a passion. I just like to see other people get good at stuff that,
And that takes a special person to teach someone, and especially to teach someone something so different. Mm-hmm. It's something so kind of like out there, you know what I mean? You're not just teaching them how to kick a ball, you know what I mean? To backtrack a little bit, I used to train at Butch's gym, and I got to watch a lot of this stuff. I participated in a fraction. I did some boxing, but I would watch the people doing the jiu-jitsu and things, and I think it's fascinating.
Yeah,
I don't think I'm teachable. I don't think you could teach me because I panic. Like I don't want to be like just don't touch me. Like I don't.
Sounds a lot like my wife.
I can't do it. Like the kickboxing would be fine. The boxing's good, but don't like wrap your arms or legs around me and squeeze.
Yeah. She doesn't like other people sweating on her.
That's not what you're saying.
Yeah. That's exactly what I think.
I mean, you don't like this?
Not on a blue mat with a bunch of stinky guys. No, I really don't.
You know, that's what made me want to do it, though, is what's weird. Not because I get to roll with people or be underneath people. But, like, I went in and I was looking for something to get into because I quit playing golf because I got kids. I don't want to spend 5-6 hours on a Saturday or Sunday away from the house, working all the time. So I was like, man, I need something competitive. I need something I can just use my mind. And so I walked into your gym one day, and I can't remember who I talked to. It was just like the middle of the day, and I started coming to Krav.
Yeah.
And I loved it, and I thought the only thing I'm going to hate about this is the ground game.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I don't want to roll around with somebody, and I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
It was weird, and then I started doing privates with the guys, and I was the opposite. Like, they would crush me or get me bent, and they were like, you're not, most guys are panicking or squirming or freaking out, and I'm just like, okay,
you're comfortable underneath a man.
I didn't know what to do.
Yes, tell us more.
I was taking it all in, whatever it cost. But I mean, I was like, I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
I was still trying to learn, but I was like, I didn't.
Well, you have the right man. Like, that's what I was trying to explain to somebody. I think, and I don't understand that. Like, if for example, I was trying to tell somebody the other day, I had a gym a long time ago, and I had a couple of girls that were really good at the time. So I always put the girls with the new people. And the girls, they wouldn't always win, but they wouldn't lose, right? So a lot of times, the guys at the end, they'd be like, they would quit. Probably 90% of the time, they'd quit. Where I would say, like, see, that's an example for me. Like, if I tried anything, whether it was boxing, kickboxing, anything, even checkers, if some girl was beating me, in my mind, I'd be like, I need to learn that because that girl's kicking my ass, and I thought I was awesome. Because in your mind, you're always awesome, right?
Right.
But that's not how it went. Like, I had more people quit than anything else because they're like, I quit because that girl's kicking my ass. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
That's the reason you come back.
Yeah,
it's like an ego thing.
You're like, you don't leave. Like, I'm not coming home, honey.
Yeah,
I'm my ass kicked by a girl tonight.
But that's the thing. You don't want those people either. You know what I mean? That means that,
if they have the mentality they're just going to quit because it's not going their way. That's not the mentality that I think that MMA you're supposed to have.
No, not
from
at all. Because, exactly. It's the weirdest thing because you're supposed to lose, right? You really are. Myself included. Like, if I'm not teaching my so-called students, which I don't say that word, but like, if they're not beating me, then I haven't done my job, right? And that's supposed to motivate me to do better too. Like, if somebody does beat me, tap me out or whatever, then I'm like, well, I got to learn better. I got to, get my cardio in check or whatever.
It doesn't happen very often though.
No, but like I tell people, it's not because I'm good. It's because I've trained that guy since the start. Yeah. So let's be realistic. Like, I know his entire game. Yeah. And I have kind of, it's like a cheat sheet, really, is all it is. So instead of pretending like I'm awesome, I said, like, listen, like, let's be honest. Like, I already know what you're.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I know what your best moves are, and I avoid those things. So.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Especially the guys like Bowman.
Yeah, for sure. And he's probably the hardest guy to go with. And since he was a blue belt, he was able to beat black belts, and he's a black belt now. So, I mean, he's not gotten any worse. He's gotten better.
Right,
and, he pushes me every day. And quite honestly, I mean, like, it's the thing. I can, of course I can beat him as a teacher, but, like, he's in way better shape. So if we went 10 times, probably 8 of those times I'd probably lose because I have terrible cardio. To be honest, like, but the first 2 I win, and then I say, hey, guess what? Let's stop.
Because I can't breathe anymore.
No, but
I just say when we stop.
Yeah, so I mean, but no, honestly, those guys are amazing. You know what I mean? And that's the other thing. I don't. Cardio is not an excuse. If I'm not in good shape, it's my fault. It's not. Anybody's fault that I go with. So
right.
You need to go take your wife's kickboxing class.
I do, and I have, and usually it's terrible for me.
Right. It's a different type of training.
Yes, exactly. I mean, and that's the thing. Like our sport. I had two brand new guys yesterday, and one was a wrestler, and one was just you could just look at him and tell he was a good athlete, and they were throwing up in the bathroom.
Right.
And they were kind of embarrassed, but that's what I told them. I said, listen, man, we have marathon runners in here, and they throw up and they get tired and stuff. It's 100% different cardio because it's, if you're nervous, like, hey, I don't know what to do and I can't relax, then you're tired,
Well, and 2, I found when I taught a class similar to that, and just the things that I do now, whenever, it was always funny because whenever, because my classes are mostly female.
Yeah.
But whenever a guy would come in, whether it was a spouse of someone or just a random guy that wanted to come in, they would go so hard, so fast because they want to impress the girls.
For sure.
Or not just like you were saying, not let the girls show them up.
Yeah.
So they're going to go like balls to the wall. And I'm like, this guy's going to throw up in about 10 minutes if you keep this pace up.
Yeah.
And sometimes they did, and some would leave, but some would throw up and come back.
Yeah.
But
and you're like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I do the same thing.
Yeah,
I know better.
It's just...
I remember doing the class on Sundays when I used to do it for my cardio, and people bring their husbands in that one day, and they were like, I was watching, I was like, they must not know we're going to be doing this circuit 4 more times. I'm pacing myself. Yeah. I'm like, I'm cherry picking. I'm like, and those guys are like going crazy, and you see it in their eyes, and they're like, okay, go. Yeah. The second time, and they're like, what? Wait, what?
Wait, we're doing this again?
And then the guy's outside puking, and I hear her at the door like, are you done yet? You coming back in?
Ready to go. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's an ego trouble, but it's trouble for your ego.
It does. I mean, it's understandable, but
some of them stayed and got a lot better.
Absolutely.
It was impressive. They didn't quit.
Absolutely.
No, for sure.
So when did you know, like, okay, I love martial arts. I love jiu-jitsu. I want to open my own place. I want to be a teacher. I want to do this thing.
So, yeah, that's a tough one because here's the thing, and even to this day, I hate having my name on the line, right? So, my gym's obviously named after me.
Right.
So, that means that my name, that means if somebody says my gym sucks, they say Butch Hiles sucks, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It kind of sucks putting your name on the line, but I did it for a reason. Like, my instructor now is Marcelo Monteiro.
Right.
Which he goes by his name also too, but that's what he said. Like, here's the thing. Like, our gym used to be called Advanced BKJ, which there's really no rhyme or reason to it at the time. I think I picked it because A was the first in the phone book back when people used phone books.
So,
right. BKJ stand for boxing, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu. So there I picked that. But anyway, when people would say, like, our gym was at the time probably one of the top people in MMA at the time. Back, 10, 15 years ago, but they didn't know who I was, right? They'd say, Advanced BKJ is awesome. Those guys are, rock solid, but they didn't know to contact me to train people or whatever.
Right, yeah.
So that's what my instructor was like, this is why they need to know who you are. So they need to say, hey, Butch Hiles is a good trainer, and Butch Hiles needs to maybe train me or something. So anyway, I took that risk and put my name on the line, and it's good and bad, because I think some people think, hey, that guy's bragging or whatever, and that's not the case.
No.
Once people meet me, they get that, like that it's not the case. But it's kind of tough. Like, I never knew. Here's the thing: I moved to I was at the forefront on accident, right? So I was probably one of the first people to do jiu-jitsu. There's nothing in West Virginia when I came here, so that was probably 2002. In West Virginia, as you guys know, is typically 5 to 10 years behind in everything.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
At least.
Everything. Yeah. So imagine working out. Like, 'cause, for example, like, think of Anytime Fitness. I was hearing about 24-hour gyms probably 10 years before 24-hour gyms came to West Virginia.
Sure.
I was like, that sounds like a great idea. It's the same thing. There was no jiu-jitsu, there was no MMA. So when I came here, I didn't want to have my own gym. I wanted to train with other people, right? Because I didn't know anybody. But there wasn't anything here. So I trained with, as I mentioned before, Leon Ramsey in Glenville. When I moved to Charleston, there was nobody. I met some guys on the internet randomly, just searching. Trained with them for a long time, and they're really good. Their name was Jason and Johnny Walls. But they also didn't train under an instructor. They rented some Hoist Gracie videotapes. Mm-hmm. And quite honestly, they were really good at the time. Like, very good actually, but they learned just from these instructional videotapes. I got on the internet, and that was the time where you could actually talk to people. Like, I just wrote Hoist Gracie, and I said, hey, like, can I train with you? And he's like, sure.
Really?
Wow.
It's like literally that easy.
And you could not do that today for anything.
There's no way. And he was like, sure. When you want me to come down, I said, well, anytime you can. He came down, and it's funny because I didn't know. Yeah, he came down to South Charleston, D Street, actually.
Wow.
In South Charleston, it's a antique mall now.
Yeah.
But that's where my gym was.
Yeah, it's right by my uncle's shop.
Okay.
Yeah, and so he came, and at the time, I didn't even. He probably would have accepted us regardless because at the time he paid $150 a month to carry his name. But I thought that I had to like kick his ass, which I'm not going to beat Hoist Gracie, but that's what I thought. So I'm like pacing the thing, just like you see on TV. Yeah. Like, he's like, all right, let's go. So I go as hard as I can. He kicks the crap out of me, and I just jump back up. Let's go again. You know what I mean? And I'm like, he just wants to see if I'm going to quit. So I keep going. Right. I think he popped my jaw out, popped my arm out.
Oh my gosh!
Because I was pissing him off because he thought, and he told me like later, like we got in the car because I thought I impressed him. I thought, man, I just went and I went as hard as I could and I wouldn't quit.
Yeah.
So we get in the car because I think we're going to dinner, and he said, who the hell you think you are? And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm just some dude. What do you mean? And he's like, why are you testing yourself against me? And I was like, well, isn't that not what you want? He's like, no. I mean, you test yourself against another blue belt or purple belt. You don't test yourself against me. I'm going to kill you.
Oh, gosh.
Like, well, I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? But literally, like, so the whole time we were competing, he was trying to kill me. I didn't know. I thought, like, I was just supposed to survive. So, I mean, literally, it about broke my arm because he popped it out, popped my jaw out. I had bruises all over my face. My mouth was bleeding. But I was like, I'm not going to quit, you know. And he was making fun of me, too. Yeah.
Like, you really pissed him
off. Wow.
Yeah, I would, like, he would tap me out, and I'd lay on the mat, and I'd get back up, and he would be like, he'd say something smart ass, like, hey, Butch. And I was like, what? He's like, that's called putting it second gear. Don't make me go third. And I was like, well, all right, let's go.
Oh, no.
And so then he kicked my ass again. You know, like, I thought that's what you're supposed to do, you know, and I didn't know. And so anyway, and long story short, like, I don't think I impressed him, but I think I hung on, and I became a Hoist Gracie affiliate. So I became a student at that point. And went all the way up to purple belt with him, and before I moved on. But yeah. So and then that was the thing. There was nobody else. There was no Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in West Virginia. There was nothing. So I just started my own gym, and it was nothing to do about making money. So I probably had about 10, 15 gyms fail because I would have 60 people. Nobody would pay dues, right? So rent would be due, and rent would be cheap back at the time. Like say $300 for everything. 60 people, and I couldn't make rent because nobody would pay.
Wow.
Yeah. And then and I didn't want to ask anybody either, you know. And it was funny because let's say rent was due the 1st, 25th, everybody start not showing up. And they'd wait till about the 7th, and they show back up. And they do that every month, and then I'd have to close the gym, then open a new one. To eventually, when I got to Marcelo, who taught me about business, which I think Hoist taught me about business too. I just didn't listen, but I finally listened, and that was the thing. Like I still, that's not my job, as you guys know. So
right.
But it has to survive. So if
you
it's
can't
not ran
carry
like
it on your own.
If it's not ran like a business, it's not going to survive. And that's what I tell people now. Is like it has to run a certain way.
Right.
Because I'm not going to pay for it. Like if it starts losing money, then I'm not going to do it. I don't have there's no reason because
you got a family.
Well, and that's the thing. We're very cheap. Our unlimited rate's like $85 a month, which some people think's high, but every other state is $200 a month.
Not for that type
even
of
your
training.
Competitors here,
but
people
150 or 160, 180 from what I've heard. I mean,
so people look at that price and they compare it to what's that stupid gym? What's that? I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
That was mean.
That is mean. Why are you?
But that's stupid. No intimidation gym.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Like,
Planet Fitness. I'll say it.
No,
stupid gym. It's a stupid gym.
No, I agree.
Anyway, but they
I'm part of that gym.
I'm sorry. You're a member? No wonder. It's $10. Why wouldn't you? Do you go?
Do they have a sauna?
No. Do they have? I don't know. I've
I
never
would pay
actually
the $10
been.
a month.
It's $10 a month.
I mean, I'll pay $10 to get to the sauna.
No, but what I'm saying
is
that
you can tan. So I mean,
you can tan.
Hey,
you can get a hydro massage.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is people compare
Really?
it. I mean, it's really not that bad of a gym. I'm joking, kind of. But I'm just saying people compare that price to like a gym like that. And they're like, oh, I can go. But it's that they don't understand the type of training and experience they're going to get.
Plus, it's
from your gym
for sure, and it's people never understand that. As you guys both know, it's the time value, right? Like I'm giving up family time, my kids' time, to teach something that is priceless, right? Jiu-Jitsu is priceless. I'm a 3rd degree black belt, which is pretty rare. Yeah, I've been there since the beginning.
That is rare.
So it's priceless information that's not mine. It comes from the Gracies or whatever that I'm sharing with other people. And it's worth way more than $85 a month.
I totally agree.
Well, the thing is with the if correct me if I'm wrong, this might just been a special deal for me. No,
because Brendan, you are so very special.
I am special to myself, like he said. You always feel like you're best to yourself. But I mean, if you pay that unlimited, you can come in and you can do Krav.
For sure, yeah, you can do any other
kickboxing class.
Yeah.
And you can do, I don't know about kickboxing. I don't know if
you can. $85 a month, you can do whatever you want to do.
So you can come every night that you've got some. You can come in the middle of the day on the days that you have like open mat and all that.
That's pretty cool,
So I mean, that's a great price.
Yeah, and people they don't get it, but it's okay. You know, I mean, like that's the beauty of my thing is that obviously I need to keep it open and I need to keep it that way. But it's like if people like complain, I'm like, like go somewhere other gym.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I want to come back,
okay.
the thing I miss because I was there we were there. I mean, I was coming for several years. Is the people, to be honest.
It's like a little family.
It was like I felt like I have a crew. Like I
Yeah.
have people. Like,
well, and like I always say, like I think it comes from the top down. So it's not saying that I'm great, but you go to a lot of other gyms, right? And then it depends on that guy's personality, right? So there's some gyms locally where everybody's like thugs or assholes.
Yeah.
Honestly.
oh yeah.
It comes from top down. Where our gym, I think everybody's really nice and everybody's like pretty pleasant. Doesn't mean, let's say not everybody. Everybody like I have.
You've got people.
I've got some douchebags, like for
course.
sure.
Yeah.
But
they're
the
still
gym
part of
helps
the-
them.
yeah.
And that's why they're there. Like
Yeah.
I have some guys that I'm like, they have no social skill, and I'm sorry that they're here. And I feel, I warn people,
But that's
but I'm here to help them. You know what I mean? And that's what I think our guys in general are super, super nice. And that's what people find.
I totally agree. I mean, when I spent a lot of time, I don't forget how long I was there training, but it was like a little family. And even though I had nothing to do with the boxers or nothing to do with the people doing jiu-jitsu, they didn't make me feel like that. I mean, it was like a family. And I think that's what a lot of people need. In addition to any type of fitness or any type of training that you're going after, a lot of times people join things. Yeah, to get that experience, but to also be, like you said, be a part of something, like have a crew,
sure.
have a.
That's what I miss about it.
You know,
that's why I'm like, you get back in.
And you don't get that at a lot of other type of gyms. You might not get that at Planet Fitness.
But I mean, you do
sure,
things outside of the gym. You know, like you have some MMA things where there's big fights.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
it's pretty cool.
We've done a little bit less, and that's mainly because of my real job. But we used to have, almost every UFC, like a big fight party, right?
Fight parties.
And that's the thing that people don't understand. Like, so that obviously the fights, so I don't even know what they are now, $70, and we buy food for everybody. So every one of those fight parties, like $200-$300. But we pay, like we'd pay for it. Everybody be a family. We used to have cookouts during the summer where people play cornhole or just do whatever. Sure. And I think I've even rented like a dunk tank. I've done some crazy stupid stuff, but the point was to have everybody like, it's not just a gym. Yeah, like we're a family, and that way, like everybody in the gym, if somebody's like, I need help moving, I'd be the first to be there.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, and kind of still speaking on the families, not really switching gears, but speaking about family, your real family. Your wife Lisa's amazing. I just love her.
Yeah.
And we're going to have you both back.
She's something.
But she, when we have her back, I want to hear how y'all met and everything like that. But I'm definitely going to get her in here.
I want to have her in here.
But what I want to know is she's very heavily involved in the gym as well with you. She's with you in this. She's not sitting.
For sure.
She has hands-on. She teaches the kickboxing class. I'm sure your kids are there. So your family, your actual real outside of the gym family kind of is involved in this as well, right?
Which is, exactly. And the weird thing is that my kids do not do anything.
That's what I was going to ask.
Okay.
I was like, are they interested in it at all?
But that's
usually,
really cool.
sometimes are they interested in jiu-jitsu?
They are. But here's the thing. So, like, I do not take them because that means I have to go more than I already go.
Yeah.
So it's actually selfish, right? Like,
but I mean...
Yeah, and no, it's for multiple. Like, so if they go to kids class, I don't teach the kids class. We have some amazing kids class teachers. So if I go, then I feel like I'm a distraction because they're like, hey, there's that guy whose name's on the door. Why is he sitting over there? So then everybody bothers me, and then like, and not in a bad way, right? They just they're like, hey, how are you doing? And then I feel they're like, why are you teaching this class? Or I just feel like I'm a distraction. And then my kids are also kind of spoiled because they're not used to listening to other people. Like. They think that they can just go and just fight and do whatever, and then like they don't get it. But I wish they would go because they are going to get their butts kicked probably in school, and they run their mouths already. They already said like because somebody like I saw my oldest son, somebody started a fight with him kinda, and he was like, "Don't mess with me, I know jiu-jitsu." And I said, "No. You know somebody that knows jiu-jitsu. You don't actually know anything like whatsoever. So it's only going to work so long, But I wish that they were a little bit more. But at the same time, even we were talking earlier about Hoist Gracie and stuff. Like, ironically, he said his family, he was not pushed into it.
That's important. Yeah. Not to push your, like, that's a huge thing for me because I can kind of relate to that where people are surprised that, like, if you go up in my pantry right now upstairs, you're going to be shocked. Because, like, well, you saw, I just gave my son Fruity Pebbles. I mean, like, I I don't force the way that I eat and working out on my kids. They say, your girls don't work out. No, they don't have any interest. I'm not going to make them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not overweight.
Right?
Yeah, that's what I feel like. And I don't want that because...
that's what I was telling them upstairs earlier, that my daughter's boyfriend, my dad, he was a really good basketball player in high school when he went on to play in college. And he never pushed us. Like, he never
That's awesome.
made us play any sport. It was like, if we said, hey, Dad, I want to play baseball, he'd sign us up and he'd be there. And like, when I got in high school, I started playing basketball. Yeah. And I loved it. And until that moment where I said, hey, will you help me? He was like, are you sure?
Yeah.
Like, but he never pushed me into it. And he never, because he hated it by the time he was a junior or senior in college, because he's like, that's all I did 24/7. I didn't have a social life, anything going on. So he would, and he even told me that because he asked me upstairs, because I said, I quit because I was just, there's politics, and really I regret it now looking back, because I just was like, I know I'm better than the guy that's playing ahead of me. I should be playing, just because I didn't play last year, because I had a surgery. I'm not able to, So, and when I told my dad that, I thought he's going to be so upset. But he's like, no. You play to enjoy the game. If you're not enjoying it, you should be playing it. So,
for sure,
you should play. Do you love playing basketball? I was like, yes. He's like, well, decide if you're going to sit there and play and fight this battle to get playing time, or go play church league, go play at First Presby, go play somewhere, have fun. Yeah. And I took that to heart, and I thought that was huge, because I saw everybody else, and now I really see it as an adult with a kid. It usually, those parents that are like really pushing their kids, they didn't play.
Yeah,
I know.
Isn't that funny? It's like they weren't.
No, I'm the same way.
You can't force them to love something.
It's rough. I mean, it's because it's like you want to yell at your kid because you know the potential you think that they have, right? Like, it's kind of tough. But that's how I am now. Like, our kids play soccer, football, basketball, whatever. Like, I don't ever say a word. Now, I did when they were, I think when our first kid was younger. And then I learned from my mistakes. I'm like, you know what? Like, they're just, let them be. Let them, let them do whatever. Luckily, they do okay. But even if they didn't, I don't really care. You know what I mean? Like, because ultimately, no matter how good we think they are, like, it's funny because then the West Side comes, and then I remember how bad they actually are. Because like like you watch these basketball games, I'm like, man, these kids are great. My son's awesome, and then the West Side comes and it's like 150-3.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, my kid's terrible. There's no hope.
It's all relative at that moment.
And I do get competitive though with him when he's playing, and so that's my problem. Like, I'm not as, I get pretty wrapped up in it.
Yeah, you do.
But that's why coaching them, like you said, coaching your sons, or if you're teaching them. Mm-hmm. For me, I coached Nate, and of course it was like 5, 6, 7, 8 years
Which is
old.
hard regardless.
But I always had a guy that coached with me, and I was like, you deal with him, because he won't listen to me.
No,
I mean, your kids don't listen to you.
No. On everything. And I get more frustrated with them. And I'm like, the other kids I'm real patient with. I'm like, it's all right, you're not getting at him. I'm like, freaking no.
Because you know they have the potential. Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah. That's why I quit coaching our kids' teams for the same reason.
Yeah.
Blood pressure.
Get too involved in your own. All right, so I've always wanted to know this. Mm-hmm. Answer this question. This is not a bad question. So have you ever been like out somewhere, whether it be out to dinner, out to a bar, out whatever, and you've had to actually use your skills in a real life situation?
Yes. So probably the last time, it's hard.
There's more than one. I like it.
But it's hard. You know, the older you get, everything seems like yesterday, but it's probably not. But probably about 10 years ago, maybe not even that long. But so anyway, I had to beat a guy up for just stupid stuff. But it was more like the guy kept pushing limits, and I kept warning him, hey, listen, like, if you do this again, I'm going to beat you up. And I think I did that 4 or 5 times to where it was like, hey, if I don't beat this guy up, like, now I'm like an idiot. You know? So I had to. But the moral of the story is it was very easy. Not that I was not that I'm tough, but it was like literally when somebody knows nothing. It was very easy. It
wasn't any sweat off your brow or anything.
No, but that being said, like here, I almost am hypersensitive to where I don't underestimate anybody. You know what I mean? Like, so if I go to a bar or anything like that, everybody I look around, instead of being like in a room and say like I can beat all these guys up, I'm always like, every one of these guys probably wants to fight me, so I have to be, ready or whatever.
Yeah,
so.
Especially if they know who you are and they've been drinking.
Well, for exactly, yeah, and so years ago, I had some friends that owned some bars like Impulse. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh yeah.
So it was a dance club, and so like a lot of my friends would go and there'd be a lot of fights, and some of them lost, and some were world champions on pay-per-view. But what would happen is they would be drunk and partying, and somebody would go up and sucker punch them and knock them out.
Yeah.
And then instead of being like,
you can't defend us.
Yeah, you just literally they'd be standing there, and somebody'd sneak up behind them and just clock them on the jaw and knock them out
for no reason.
Yeah, for no reason.
Just because they knew they were a fighter.
Just to say, I knocked him out.
Yes, exactly.
Because they knew he was a fighter,
and so they could say, "I kicked that guy's ass," and he's a whatever.
Oh my gosh, that's so unfair.
No, actually, right before Impulse closed, it is a weird story. Is we went, I had a bunch of fighters. We were in Kentucky fighting. I don't know. Since my friends owned Impulse, we used to be able to go to the VIP, so we'd be like away from everybody.
Right.
So anyway, we went, and so we got there at Impulse, and then they were like, "Hey man, the VIP's sold out, man. I'm sorry, but you can't go in." But when we were all wearing T-shirts that said like, I'm an MMA fighter, this and that. So like, it's a recipe for disaster. So I was like, look, I'm not going. Like, I was smart enough to be like, this is not a good place to go.
Yeah.
Like, get a regular T-shirt that says I'm a fighter. But everybody else was like, well, I'm going to go. We're going to have a good time. So because they had just fought, they wanted to celebrate. So I went home. Me and my wife went home, and then I wake up the next morning to the biggest fight in the history. It was all over YouTube, all over the news.
What?
Where our 4 or 5 guys got jumped probably by 30 or 40 people.
Oh my gosh.
All over the news. Like, I mean, you could probably to this day can go to YouTube and find the video, but same thing. They had the shirts that said I'm an MMA fighter, whatever they said. Obviously they didn't say I'm an MMA fighter, but they said something about fighting. And that's what happened. So one of them got in an altercation with somebody. Somebody went outside, called all their friends and said, hey, like, I need help because there's a bunch of MMA fighters in there, which there was 5, right? So they waited, the bar closed, my 5 friends walked out, there was probably 100 people waiting for them, and it was like, and they must have probably got their butt kicked for the most part, I'm sure. Some of them did fine. Police, I mean, you can watch the video, there's police there and everything, but they don't do anything because there's
too many people.
Yeah.
Oh
So
my
just,
gosh,
you can do.
that's crazy.
Yeah, and there'd be like guys fighting one-on-one, regular fight, and somebody sneak up behind them, hit them back the head, knock them out.
Nothing you can do.
Nothing you can do. But that was the point of where I was, you guys need to grow up and not go out and do these kind of things. And
yeah, you don't want people to know who you are either.
Yeah, so defending yourself is great to have.
Right.
Some confidence, right? Like I have some confidence, but the realistically is everybody's got a puncher's chance, right? Like,
right.
I mean, so I don't underestimate anybody. And the thing about training is that I know now, by looking at the gym, there's guys that are 130 pounds that are amazing.
Yeah, that's what I learned real quick.
Yeah, so now when I go in a bar, instead of being like, look, I'm 240 and I know everything, I look like, that guy's 120. He might be the baddest guy in this bar, and I don't know.
Yeah.
So I actually have more respect for everybody. Yeah. And I have a I have a bad temper, but I also have a really long fuse, which is weird.
You have a bad temper?
Really bad.
See, I've always described you to people like this guy that wouldn't fight. Like, you'd have to literally probably...
That is true. So that's
pull
the
your
weird
ears
thing.
Off, poke your
Well, that's what
eye
he's saying.
out,
He has a long fuse. Like,
but then when you blow, well, I guess I'm kind of that way.
I'm kind of that way too. Yeah.
I'm kind of cool, and then it's like, guy, he's a freaking lunatic. Like,
yeah, that's how. So I used to have a bad temper where I'd fight all the time, and now I have a bad temper to where I made my fuse longer, but once it snaps, and then it's not good. It could, it's just stupid. But yeah, for the same reason, and I don't want to be involved in that stuff. And a lot of people say, well, I'm afraid, like, do you think if you fight, you're going to go to jail because of this or that? You know what I mean? Because they make up stories. Like, I think there's rumors that you have to register your hands as lethal weapons or something. That's,
oh, my gosh, yeah.
That's not true at all. But I would say...
Because you're trained to a certain level that you can't... Yeah, you could actually hurt somebody worse.
Yeah, there's a real story when I lived in Cleveland, or right when I left, where a guy who's a wrestler, he was just a regular college wrestler, not an MMA fighter or anything.
Yeah.
He got jumped by 4 people in Cleveland in a place called The Flats, and he won because he was a wrestler. So they didn't know anything. So what he would do is, when they're fighting on concrete, he'd shoot in, take them down, slam them really hard, and a lot of people hit their head and knock them out.
Yeah,
right.
Right.
Well, he ended up getting sued and lost and went to jail. and,
oh, wow.
and because they said he was a trained fighter and he should have known restraint and should have known this and that. So like knowing that story does kind of freak me out.
It would, I mean, I didn't even. That doesn't even
but if
seem...
you're out and you get attacked by 4 guys,
I agree.
You should be able to just destroy all of them.
I agree. But since there's precedents, and since I've been involved in some court cases that made no sense whatsoever, so I'm like, I'd rather not be involved in that situation.
Oh, for sure.
So yeah, I do worry about it, and that makes the fuse longer to a degree. So I mean, it'd take a lot.
It's in the back of your head,
I think that's what stood out to me when I started training in Krav Maga with Benji. Is I started, and I was like, wow, I don't even know how to throw a punch. And you grow up watching movies, watching TV, and you think you can fight. You just think you can. You watch boxing. Like
you watch Rocky, and
you think, I can, throw these haymakers. I could fight if I had to, And I got in fights in high school and college, stupid fights, but they're always broke up before anybody really gets hurt. Yeah. And it's like a year doing that to Krav Maga and learning like how to. That's exactly how I was when I was training. I'm not so much now because I'm out of practice, but everywhere I'd go, you're more aware, and it's not that I could hurt anybody, but they taught me enough technique to keep myself from getting hurt.
For sure, yeah, and I think some people have mastered the art of landing a couple punches and getting the fight broken up, so they look like they won. Right?
Oh yeah,
and I've seen that because there's been a couple of people come to the gym that were quote unquote legends of the street. Right, like where this guy's like, he's awesome, so he would be a great MMA fighter. Like, wait, and so the guy would finally show up in the gym, and that quite honestly be god awful, embarrassment to like.
Yes.
Well, because they're boisterous, right?
Yes.
Loud. They're not really fighters. They just talk through.
But they're like 100-0 in street fights. I know for a fact because I know people that beat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
like street fight matches, like literally like where they said you guys are gonna.
A lot
fight.
of it's like could be like we said earlier. Somebody just come up and knock somebody out, right? Like that guy wasn't waiting, but at the end of the night, we know that this guy knocked that guy out, right? So he's the man, but we don't know the story in between. We don't know that this guy was just drinking a beer, talking to his friend, and he got knocked out.
So those are the guys. This is on my list. So those are the guys you might find at like Rough and Rowdy.
Yes. yeah.
I mean,
going to Rough and Rowdy and watching after actually training with you guys, and
it's horrible.
You go and you watch, and you're like, wow.
Yes, it's rough.
Their arms are down. They're not protecting themselves. It's like if anybody goes in there and fights from your gym and knows what they're doing, they can't lose.
Yeah, and
I mean they can,
but
they're not supposed to be trained, are they? These Rough and Rowdy fighters?
No, you can be.
You can
be. That's the sad part.
Okay.
And that was always my complaint. So when MMA was illegal, and oddly enough, so I'm the one that helped MMA be legal actually here. But that was the thing. When it was illegal, that was my complaint when I would go to the Senate or whatever they called it when I go to the Capitol, and I'd be like, hey. Here's the deal, like, all these guys don't train, but my guys train, they're going to hurt somebody. I'm just, that's not fair. And then nobody would get it. But, that would be the case. Like, our guys never lost. If they did, like, I mean, it'd be some kind of controversial thing. You know what I mean? But some of them did. But, yeah, you don't have to, like, train. And then people are getting off the bar stool, literally, and fighting.
Right.
Which is not good. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And in no other state, and literally, because you can look it up, is Tough Man or Rough and Rowdy a thing? It's not.
It's just here in West Virginia?
Just here in West Virginia.
Did not know that.
Yeah, because it's so dangerous. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're taking punishment. The unnecessary shots to the head.
People are not healthy, right? Like, so, I mean, literally, pretty fat guys. Yeah, I mean, Butterbean ended up being a good fighter, but that guy was 400-some pounds. I don't know if you guys remember him. But
what's the competition, too? I mean, he's not going up against that many people.
No, and that's the thing. So I do not personally like that, but
I mean, I don't want to fight
But the guys that run so I know Chris Smith and Jerry Thomas, and I respect them. So here's the thing about that is that, quite honestly, that's what people want to see. So
totally.
Yeah, I ran MMA fights where I had UFC fighters. I had like UFC caliber fights in West Virginia, and probably 3,000 people showed up, which is good, 3,000.
Yeah.
But this Rough and Rowdy have 7,000.
It's just entertaining.
Well, it's because it's a party and people are
talking trash before.
It's like that networking thing. It's like your local people.
Exactly.
And then they talk
the
to
best marketing thing that there is.
I mean, you got a guy in Boone County that's fighting, and everybody in Boone County gets behind him.
Yeah, or you're high school, right? So everybody shows up from the high school. So it's perfect, and they have like 60-some fights, and it's a great marketing strategy for success. It's just not what I want to watch. You know,
we watched once, and I was like, I'm not coming back.
Yeah, that's how I am.
It's awful.
But we are the minority.
Well, we are because when you know something, I didn't know anything before I came to your gym, and then you start learning, and you're like, this sucks.
Yeah. No, and that's what
no technique, no skill.
And that's what I told both of those. Like I said, I consider them friends that run those shows, and that's what I told them. I said, it's not my thing. More power to you. I mean, they make a lot of money. They do really good, and good for them. I mean, honestly, if you're a promoter, you're supposed to make the fans happy, right?
Yeah.
And they do.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. That's their goal to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't want to run into these people and fight them. I'm not saying that. I mean,
for sure. And those guys that fight in the Tough Man, Rough and Rowdy, and win are actually, a lot of them are really tough. Yeah. I mean, for real. Like, a lot of them came to our gym. Not a lot of them, but a good many of them came to the gym and actually tried to make an MMA career, like Wes Lane, Jeremy Lane.
Yeah.
Some of the guys, and did really good.
And maybe that's the starting point for some people is going to do their Rough and Rowdy, and they're like, okay, I did good. Now, like you just said, now I need, but I think I might need training. Where am I going to go? Well, I'm going to go see Butch, obviously.
Well, and that was my point. So the problem is with that is that once you win 2, which they may have changed the rules by now, you have to turn pro, right? So they have no training whatsoever. Mm-hmm. So now you've turned pro,
and you have been trained
boxer, right?
Right.
So you have no gold gloves.
Oh, with
amateur, so they have no pro career. Yeah, you're done at
those
that
Golden
point.
Glove.
So
yeah.
There's the downside. Nobody looks at the longevity or looks past that part. But some people don't care either, right? It's like being a high school football star, right? Like you can live your life on that too. So I mean, it's not my thing. I'm not knocking it, but it's just not.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, so I don't promote that at our gym either, just because I would just get sick of calls where somebody say, "Hey," and this is the bad thing. They don't even train a long time. They'd say, "Hey, Rough and Rowdy is January 7th," and they'd call me in January. I need to train for the Rough and Rowdy in 7 days. Can you get me ready? No, I can't get you ready in 7 days.
Just tell them, watch Rocky.
Yeah,
watch the trilogy and then go fight.
That's about as good as it's gonna get.
Yeah, so it is what it is. It wasn't my thing, but I think you guys, you probably know, it's getting less and less. I don't hear about anything anymore like I used to. But I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's just not my thing. You know what I mean?
But the guys that come into the gym, like, I know some guys make it, like you mentioned, some guys that not make it, but they actually. Do you see that mental block, like where they come in thinking, I've won some Rough and Rowdies, and I'm going to come in here and I'm already better than all these cats in here. Yes. Yeah. Naturally, like I got a natural gift, and all it needs is a little fine tuning. And then they're mentally they can't get. You know what I mean? Like
no, those are the hardest phone calls. Like, which I don't answer the phone a lot actually, but. When I do answer the phone for the gym, somebody will call me and they'll say, "Hey, listen, I'm 90-0 in street fights. I think I have potential." And I'll say, "You're 90-0 in street fights. What the fuck are you getting in 90 fights for? Like, what's wrong with you?" So, that's usually my thing. So you don't have potential. You're an asshole, right? Like you've got 90 fights. I don't know if I got 90 fights in my whole life, right? Yeah. And you're 18, so there's a problem. Number one,
you're a hothead.
You're burnt out.
Yeah, but once they get there, like, and that's the other thing, like. On paper I'm pretty good. I'm not saying I'm pretty good at all, but like let's say like I'm 3rd-degree black belt. When I call somebody, I usually like downplay everything. I'm like, "Hey, I train a little bit. I'm okay, but whatever. Do you mind if I train?" People, "Yeah, sure." So I go up there and then like I'm embarrassed really because I feel bad going to another gym being like a high-ranking person or whatever. Those people come in and think they're awesome. Like they call like
I'm talking about.
I've done this and done that, and they come to the gym and they can't last 30 seconds with like our brand new person,
Yeah, a guy that's been training for 3 months, right?
Yeah. So they don't quit. They don't stay. They quit immediately.
They go back to the streets.
Yeah,
where they can fight other people.
Probably 1 out of 100 stay. You know what I mean? Like
that's what I was curious. I was really curious about that.
But like that same period, like when I started with. Leon Ramsey. So George Randolph won 2 Clarksburg Tough Men and ended up fighting in Pride. So he went pretty far. Mike Shepard, he won a couple Tough Mans. I don't know where, maybe Parkersburg, but he ended up being like a multiple-time world kickboxing champion and for real, like a real one.
That's unbelievable.
Fought for several world titles in boxing. One, he went to the distance, lost a controversial decision. So there are people that do it, right?
Sure, yeah.
But it's the minority.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, but and that's why I don't knock it, because there's plenty. It's a good start for some people. It's just not my thing, right? Like I like the amateur boxing. Like when I came up, I was given the option. I could do tough man. At the time, I don't even know if there was rough rowdy. I'm sure there was, but or golden gloves, right? And I just wanted a box. Like I wanted to learn how to box. And the thing with tough man is you got 1 minute, right? So you stand in front of each other, you throw as many punches as you can. You do not. That is not boxing, right? Like you just most of the time they're not even straight punches. I just wanted to learn how to box, so I picked that just on my own. You know, I might not get all the glory because nobody shows up to Golden Gloves boxing. Like when I won the Golden Gloves, and which was a really long time ago, 1997. There might have been like 100 people in the crowd. We're like a tough man, rough around. He's like I said, 7,000, 8,000.
Yeah, but you were really boxing.
And you really boxing. Real that's something to me. Yeah, it was something, and I thought like I can go pro and I can do this and that, which. You know, I had a certain thing that I wanted to do, which, you know, was my thing, right? But that's also, like, I came from Ohio. That's what you did in Ohio, right? Like people did amateur boxing, and then they tried to make pro, and it was kind of a bigger deal, you know what I mean? But, you know, different, like I said, different stuff, you know what I mean? Like, here, you don't ever hear of pro boxing shows. If you do, nobody goes. If you don't hear of this, you don't hear of that. It's just different mentality kind of deal, you know?
I've got a serious question about Ohio, since we brought Ohio up.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Is the slow lane in the left lane in Ohio?
Well,
or is that the...
Yeah. It's a good question because I try to defend Ohio, but...
Ohio drivers?
I feel like we have 4 lanes, and I feel like that's the problem.
Right.
They get confused on the 2. I don't.
Well,
really
that might be it. Yeah.
It may be
that
it, but I still don't feel like that's
true.
a solid excuse.
I never thought about that, but yeah I mean, there's probably more lanes.
I know, but I still think
But still, you should know. Like, I know. I'm an aggressive driver because I came from Ohio, but... Right. I'm the guy that's 2 inches from your ass, and like
if you're in the left
my
lane.
problem.
Yes,
she's like,
and my wife same thing, and I'm like I have to teach them a lesson.
You think they're going to speed up or they're going to get over because you're on their ass?
Yeah.
Well, no, but it feels good.
Yeah, I'm here to teach them something.
I feel pretty good right now.
He's the biggest
and I'm
hothead driver.
I'm not a hothead any other time.
Only behind the wheel.
No,
sometimes. I mean,
well.
I'm the same, but it's funny because the same thing when somebody gets mad and like they'll flip me off or something. Like I don't want to fight them.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well, you're wrong and I'm right. Like I already won.
Yeah, you've already won. You don't. You're the idiot.
Yeah, that's what
like. I don't want. Don't
argument's already over.
Yeah, there's nothing to fight about. I mean,
yeah. Somebody did it the other day, like pulled over and then flipped me off. I'm like. But I'm right. Like, I already won. Like, I don't understand what you can...
That's why they're flipping you off. They're mad because they freaking lost.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, in what world do you think that you're right?
Right.
There's never a position you're right. Yeah.
So you're a Browns fan?
I am, yeah.
That's tough Sunday.
Yeah. No, this Sunday was wonderful.
Well, that's true because that's the first half close to win.
Yeah. 17 games.
And you're a LeBron fan, I guess.
Yes, yeah.
You follow him to LA?
Yes, yeah. But here's the thing, like I don't cheer. I'm not a fan of anything. Meaning that I think it's
You're not
weird.
A hardcore like.
No, I'm not.
But you support.
I'm not
where you're
tribal
from.
on anything. Yeah, like if Cleveland lost in the which they have obviously in the finals a ton, my day continues just like it never.
You're not. You're not caught up in the hype of it.
And technically, and actually, I turn off. Ending game in the final, let's say the Cavs, for example, and as soon as I'm like, I don't feel like they don't have a chance, I turn it off. Like I don't, because I'm
not going to lose sleep over it.
No, and I almost turned off the game where they won the finals because I was like, they're not going to win.
Blow it.
Yeah, and I was like, even then when they're up, like Lisa's like, they're going to win, and I was like, no, they're not. Cleveland never wins, and I just happened to have the TV on when they still won, but. That's kind of I'm just not like that. I don't understand. I've never had a favorite anything.
Yeah, that's what I wish I would have done the other night because I'm a huge Chicago Bears fan. Happened since I was a kid, and they're up a bunch and they lose at the end of the game.
Yeah,
and I can't go to sleep. Like I'm up for 2 hours afterwards because I'm worked up. Like I just was so excited that they were playing so well. I told myself that. And
you got to turn it off early.
I had a drink. And I told myself again, and then I had another drink.
Yeah.
And I told myself, but I still was not able to calm down.
Somehow it's the thing where they talk about, you hear celebrities, like they say, post something and walk away.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what,
It's got to be the same for football or whatever. Just like as soon as they're losing,
you're right.
Walk away.
Yeah.
Get out of there.
And then sometimes they win. And then I'm like, well, cool.
Yeah.
That's what what we were talking about earlier. But Joe Rogan, he was giving somebody a really hard time the other day on a podcast saying, you
read that stuff?
You read
Yeah, you can't
you
do
engage
that.
with them and you read it. No, you never. No, the rule is you never ever
It's tough.
read your comments.
That would be really hard. I as someone who does a lot of posts, I would have a hard time not reading
I think it'd be hard too.
Tough.
But I mean, he said, it's terrible for you mentally. It's just it destroys.
Well, I guess
you.
it would be if
Like,
you were to that level of.
It's like being the president. I mean, you got half the people, and half the people hate you. You know, half people.
Well, it's kind of skewing a little.
None of them. I mean, but when you're huge and you got all these followers, and you got people making you got thousands of comments.
I would hire someone and I'd say, read all these and tell me the ones that would just make me feel fabulous.
No,
don't let me know about the rest of them because it won't matter.
Because you want to fight with them.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Oh, I would.
There's so many idiots, and they're just wanting to get a rise out of you. Just like if a guy knows you're an MMA guy, they're only coming at you because they want
for sure
to say,
well,
Butch Hiles, I got him down.
It took me a while too, and that's the thing. I get it now. Like, so other gyms might say something negative about me, but that's what I tell people is they should, right? Like, that's their group. Like, they should think that they're awesome.
Yeah,
but you should. Like, if you should support your team. So like, it doesn't bother me as much as it used to. You know what I mean? Like, it really doesn't. Like, it does if it's personal. I guess
right.
And then even sometimes that I'm like, they don't really know. They're just saying something.
If they don't really know you personally, how do they even know? So what's the big deal? Yeah, but that would be hard to shrug off, though.
I think in your business too, in the fighting business, it's people have that. They have the testosterone. They're angry sometimes, for sure, and they say things they might not even mean it.
Yeah,
exactly.
But there's a lot of back and forth, especially when you're doing competitions. Because I know you guys you've taken fighters out of state, and I know they've come back and told me we freaking rolled them. Like, we went over to Kentucky and West Virginia. All of us won. Like, we beat their ass, and that's awesome. Mm-hmm. But then you got them, get a target on you, and people start getting nasty.
For sure, and that's the first thing. Like, people say, if you're from a different gym, you just say they suck. People don't look that stuff up. You know what I mean? And it is what it is.
I don't hear that though much about your gym, and I think that's because from the top down, like you said, because you're respectable in the community. You don't hear you talking nasty about people. No,
and that's the other thing. I had to learn that too when I was young, because I would hear somebody else say, well, they suck, so I'd be like, they suck. So go back and forth, and now we're at to be like, I mean, they're good too in their own right. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
That stuff's not important. I mean, you just got to treat that stuff because that's. I mean, you guys know, like, the gym is just one part of our life, right? Like, it's not that big a deal. Like, something else in my life, at my work, I'm way better. That's more important to me, or this or that. I mean, it's just one part of my life. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
You can't put everything down on just that.
I'm sure when you were younger, it was a bigger, chunkier life.
No, but it was. And times were different, right? Like, there was no gym. So, like, you want to be the best. And I had certain goals at the time which were way different than my goals now. Like, I wanted to be the best MMA gym in West Virginia. Whether I achieved it or not, I think I did at the time.
You did,
and
you still have.
Yeah.
I think that's
but now,
bringing it to our state.
Nobody...
Huge.
I would argue nobody cares anymore, right? Like, it's a different time, right? Like, a lot of things that I did before, like, jiu-jitsu wouldn't be legal in West Virginia if it wasn't for, the lawsuit I was a part of. MMA wouldn't be legal if it wasn't for me and stuff like that. But who cares, right? Like, I'm saying, like, I don't expect people to know that. I don't expect people to care. I wish sometimes they would, but I also don't care. You know what I mean? Like, I don't... It's like, what have you done for me lately? That's the truth, right? Like, in my job right now, like, it doesn't matter if I sold $1 million worth of stuff last week. This week, they're like, well, you didn't hit your number.
Right.
You got a sandbag, man.
Yeah.
Tell my brothers that all the time. I'm like,
you gotta
look,
carry it.
Because I'm in sales too, and it's that oval track that you never get off of. It's like, and you hit that number, and you push, and you hit that number, and you're like, oh man, you should have saved that one to carry over to the next quarter. Because now you've had this phenomenal quarter, and
nobody
your boss,
cares.
all he does, he says,
what have you done for me lately?
He says, you're behind. And I remember that in Atlanta, because I went to work for a huge firm, and it was like I had a career year. I mean, national scale.
Yeah.
And by the second quarter of the next year, I'd not done anything. I'd missed on a lot of stuff that I'd taken shots on. And they're like, look, if you don't get things together, you might want to start looking for something. I'm like, I was the top producer in the region last year. I was awarded at your conference. And you tell me I might have to, my book grew by 250% last year. It's just amazing. Like you said, it's what it's done for me lately.
It helped me learn about life. Instead of bitching about that in my job, I was like, that is true. Like, nobody cares.
That's when it clicked for me too. And I was like, okay. And now my mentality is completely different. But it's hard to, because I mentor a lot of younger guys and they just don't get it.
They never will.
You gotta get punched in the face. You gotta fall on your face a few times, which I've done plenty.
Yeah.
But that's sales.
Yeah, for sure. But it's the same. I think in everything. I think it's the same. But yeah, that's the thing. You got to learn. Like, people don't care, right? It's about what have you done now. Like, and that's the way it should be, right? Like, everybody new that comes to the gym. It doesn't matter what I did before or what anybody did before, including our fighters or this, that. What are we doing now? If we're not continuing to grow, continue to make those people better, that's all they care about, right? Like, they don't care if this guy was a champion. Are you a champion? Are you getting better, right?
Right.
And that's good. That's how everything should. I don't think that's a bad thing.
No, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I think it's the whole point of doing what you do is to continue to grow and to continue to do better, no matter what you're doing. No matter if it's sales, or fighting, working out, whatever, school.
We should always be struggling at something to get better.
Oh, that's one of my biggest philosophies. If you're not challenging yourself to do something, I mean, what are you doing? You're gonna I fear complacency. So, like, that's one of my biggest fears is complacency. I do not want to ever. You know what I mean? So if you're not challenging yourself or struggling at something, then what are you doing? That's my deep thoughts.
Yeah,
it's a good thought.
It's my deep thoughts. Well, I mean, you want to wrap this up? I think I want to have you back with your lovely wife.
Yeah.
And I think we talk relationships, because how long? I mean, just to let me know, how long have you? I'm not going to ask you dates.
No.
Don't worry. I'm just like, how long have you been together? Like a long time, right?
Around 10 years. But
And they have. I just feel like you have an awesome relationship. I think it'd be fun to talk relationships with you guys if she'll do it.
No, she probably would for sure.
All right.
Like I said, she listens to you guys all the time.
So. Sweet. We'll have to have her on too. Well, thanks for stopping by and being our first official live guest on In the Closet, Not in the Closet Tonight, in the basement.
Yeah. Ruins the whole title.
In the unfinished basement.
Yeah, we're stuck in the basement. But hey,
I kind of like it down here.
It's not bad.
It's not as cozy as the closet.
No, it's not.
I can't be in my pajamas right now.
Yeah. You could have been.
I could have been.
Yeah.
I could have been. Well, thanks for coming and thanks for stopping by. We'll have you back with Lisa next time.
Yeah, that's just the tip of the iceberg, I feel like.
Yeah.
We just talked about the Butch Hiles fighting.
All the not important stuff.
There's so much more to Butch Hiles.
So much more.
Yeah.
To be continued.
All right.
Thanks for stopping by.
Well, thank you.
All right. Bye, guys.